Mysterious airships. One fascinating piece of forgotten history is the great airship mystery of the late 1800s and early 1900s. Before the Wright brothers' first flight in 1903, there were numerous reports across the United States of mysterious airships flying in the skies, sometimes described as massive, metallic, and capable of advanced maneuvers. Newspapers from California to the Midwest documented sightings with witnesses, including law enforcement and prominent citizens, claiming they saw these crafts land, refuel, or even interact with humans. Some accounts even suggested pilots of these airships spoke English and claimed to be from hidden, advanced civilizations. Despite widespread reports, the story largely faded from mainstream history, leading to speculation about whether these were early secret aviation experiments, misunderstood natural phenomena, or something more extraordinary. Today, this mystery remains largely buried, even though it predates modern UFO phenomena by decades. Meat puppets. I've been developing software for over 20 years now. I began looking deeper into robotics in hopes of designing prosthetics that were more responsive and even improved upon the lost extremities. I and many other engineers have discovered the challenges that come along with trying to replicate how well the human body responds to the brain. I've watched Elon Musk make attempt after attempt to catch up with Boston Dynamics and failed to do so. Boston Dynamics, even after all their incredible and amazing work, has not come close to designing the real deal humanoid robot that we have dreamed of in film and media, but we have made drastic progress, the kind of progress that cannot be stopped or slowed in creating an artificial brain. I also have studied political science for many years. I am by no means an SME in political science, but I have done my share of reading, and there is nothing about what Musk has been doing that has made sense to me. Nothing about his involvement that appears to have positive returns for him. What is his motive? Why would they want countries that are inhabitable and have no real resources? I believe that Musk has given up on engineering robots. I believe that he aims to have secret places to implant and test AI brain augmentation into vessels that already have perfect mobility without the risk of being shut down for humanitarian reasons. The perfect political structure to test new advances in science is a dictatorship, particularly a fascist one, because you get your first test subjects, no questions asked. He's a Dalek in a human skin, trying to make his own army of Cyberman by training a fascist algorithm and trying to bake it into everything he steals / buys / owns. His problem is he thinks owning Twitter means he owns us, and while that may be true in some regards, it's not true in the ways that actually matter, and he's starting to find out that deleting these programs have left him with very large groups of very angry people who have nothing but the rage he instilled in them with in time to fill. I think he literally believes he was rigging the game so he could play God. Very do as I say and not as I do of him. Maybe there's a correlation between RFK Jr. wanting to ban antipsychotics and antidepressants, place those people on rehabilitation camps, and the Neuralink implants. They could be using these people as test subjects. From there, who knows what they could control them into doing, what they could turn them into. DeepSeek was propaganda to devalue Nvidia stocks. DeepSeek initially claimed a meager $6 million spent right after Trump. Altman and their team of buddies announced Project Stargate in polar disproportion to the humongous $500 billion promise of potential from Stargate, which, among other things, sought to disrupt a technological threat posed by China regarding AI. As far as I know, all Nvidia GPUs are manufactured in Taiwan, which is a pressing issue for the CCP, given that they're allied to the United States. The timing of this DeepSeek craze, which appears in relative terms to be rather insignificant and directly impacted Taiwan and the United States, is very interesting in the broader geopolitical technology space. I know some people will be like, but it's a private company, etc., etc. However, under the CCP regime, very little truly belongs to private companies unless it's consistent with the CCP's agenda. I don't think the public release of DeepSeek was intended to crash the stocks, but it was definitely a welcomed side effect. China's using this period of United States instability to leak info to United States citizens about how advanced China actually is. The United States depicts China as some third world developing country with no human rights that the United States is intellectually, economically, morally, militarily, etc. superior to. This used to be backed up by the fact that United States manufacturers want their products as cheap as possible, both to cut down on production costs and make previously durable items flimsy and shitty. They'd outsource to China and buy the lowest possible quality from the manufacturing plants and just chalk it up to, well, That's what you get when you buy from China, while banning any technology or products that would compete with United States companies. Now, within months, China has unveiled their 6th gen fighter aircraft, which shows America they're not the top military. Redbook has exploded as a popular social media app in the United States, which has exposed US citizens to Chinese citizens and shown that the culture and government of China is significantly different than what American propaganda has shown, as well as some of the insane technology that they have commercially available. Plus, necessities like food and shelter are affordable. DeepSeek is released on United States markets, and while they weren't entirely transparent about the total cost, it still easily cost a fraction of OpenAI, has comparable accuracy, is open source, and can be run on a local machine, eliminating the need for massive data centers, producing huge carbon footprints, and wasting water in droughts, while exposing that the entire AI industry in the United States is an enormous Ponzi scheme. And now it's also on the ban list. China is acknowledging that the United States empire has fallen, and China is positioning itself to fill the void left behind when the US collapses. Alien/time travelers kidnapping people. What if the aliens or the time travelers are kidnapping people they know no one will find ever, like people from a boat lost at sea, or an airplane that is about to crash, or someone that got lost in the woods? If I was either alien or time traveler, I would consider doing that to be low profile and not get unnecessary attention from media, government agencies, or general population. This is assuming they want people for testing reasons, aliens, or just as labor, repopulation, or just be saved to live in the future, maybe to restore humanity after some apocalyptic event. Time travelers. Am I going too far on this one? Android cameras are designed to give you body dysmorphia. I've used about 5 Android phones in my life, as well as 3 iPhones, and I swear to God, every photo I've ever taken of myself or of someone else always looks horrible on an Android phone. iPhone cameras tend to be relatively flattering in capturing my appearance while staying realistic in terms of my flaws, whereas Android phones tend to dial up the sharpness by 100. A few months ago, I was using my boyfriend's phone to take ID photos of me, and I swear I looked like a troglodyte. Every single photo of me taken had highlighted pores and blackheads I didn't even know existed, made my skin look somehow both washed out and looked like I had jaundice at the same time, and made me look like I have a unibrow. And this happens every single time, and I have no idea why. I feel like I'm going crazy because my iPhone or even old Blackberries never do this, but somehow either Google is out for me and wants to serve me a slice of humble pie, or I really am just that ugly looking in real life. Dead internet theory is pretty real, particularly in places like Reddit and Twitter, where text-based arguments are the name of the game. Do you ever see an opinion that's insanely out there and nobody you know in real life has, and it gets a significant amount of positive engagement? I'm starting to think that part of it is some psyop to sow division and general depression. LMAO. Yeah, there's definitely something to it. You see these bizarrely extreme takes getting tons of upvotes or retweets, but they don't reflect any conversations you've had in real life. It's like the internet's version of astroturfing, whether it's bots, paid actors, or just algorithms amplifying the most divisive content. It creates this illusion of consensus or widespread belief when it might not exist at all, and it's not even necessarily one big coordinated effort. The way engagement-based platforms work means that the most emotionally charged or polarizing content naturally rises to the top. It's like the whole system is designed to keep people arguing and doom scrolling. Psyop or not, the effect is the same: more division, more disillusionment, and a lot of people feeling disconnected from reality. Edit. The text above is completely AI generated. I copied OP's post and pasted ChatGPT's response, and it got 4 upvotes. Trust nothing you read. The dead internet is 100% here. As these models continue to become more efficient, it's just going to get worse. I believe there needs to be a cultural shift away from online discourse and back to IRL community involvement. It's not just the bots. The internet is missing people on a psychological level. You'll sometimes hear about the loneliness epidemic. It's also destroying people's attention spans and, in my opinion, messing with people's self-image by training them to attribute their worth as a person to online engagement. I've noticed often you'll meet people who seem to live through their social media profiles, requiring people's validations for experiences to have had any meaning. I think there's a lot of benefits to the internet, but we as a society need to treat it more as a tool and less of a, framework for society itself. The Will Smith Oscar slap was planned and staged. Dude assaulted a comedian known for telling offensive jokes, then accepts an award a few minutes later. These events are so controlled, nobody would get on stage past security if they weren't supposed to. Then that slap looks so overdone and theatrical, followed by Smith not getting kicked out and Rock not pressing charges. Nah man, it was planned and acted out to get people talking about this event that nobody cares about anymore. I didn't even know the Oscars were happening until this happened, and now it's all the internet is talking about. Clearly staged, and honestly, it freaking worked because even we're talking about it. Debbie Downer. Today, I was told the expression originated as an SNL skit in 2004, but I swear it has been an expression my whole life. Can anyone find evidence of it before 2004 on SNL? This is the only Mandela effect that has ever seemed real to me, and I'm a little shaken. Debbie Downer has been around since I was a kid in the 80s. I had a cousin, Debbie, and we called her that in the 70s. This SNL nonsense is recency bias, not Mandela effect. Yes, I'm old. SNL used an existing term. Yeah, I called bullshit when I heard someone say it originated from SNL, and I'm a major SNL guy. This is one of the most bizarre contradictions in modern political psychology. Conspiracy theorists have for over a decade talked about implant chips, mark of the devil, corporate takeover of USA politics, New World Order, technocratic governance, censorship, and loss of anonymity, etc. They now celebrate Trump and Elon Musk, a technocrat who has actually put a chip in someone's brain and owns a massive social media outlet farming personal details and pushing bots, who with Trump seems to be undergoing a corporate takeover of USA government, currently purging federal agencies of staff, presumably to move their own in, and seem to be aiding and abetting Russian global interests in what seems like a transparent shift in the world order. On top of that, these conspiracy theorists give you 1001 reasons why electric vehicles are pointless and unsustainable, yet Elon Musk, CEO of Tesla electric vehicles, is the man. AKA Doublethink. Doublethink is a process of indoctrination in which subjects are expected to simultaneously accept two conflicting beliefs as truth, often at odds with their own memory or sense of reality. Doublethink is related to but differs from hypocrisy. George Orwell coined the term doublethink as part of the fictional language of Newspeak in his 1949 dystopian novel, 1984. In the novel, its origins within the citizenry is unclear. While it could be partly a product of Big Brother's formal brainwashing programs, the novel explicitly shows people learning doublethink and Newspeak due to peer pressure and a desire to fit in or gain status within the party, to be seen as a loyal party member. In the novel, for someone to even recognize, let alone mention, any contradiction within the context of the party line is akin to blasphemy and could subject that person to disciplinary action and the instant social disapproval of fellow party members. That makes me wonder if their, Trump-Musk, popularity is actually organic or manufactured. Popularity on that scale is always manufactured. The man has enough money to do anything he wants, including manufacturing opinions for others. That's true, but I don't think it's all about buying people's opinions. I think there could be a type of mind manipulation technology involved as well. That mind manipulation technology is all of the algorithms billionaires use to control opinion and popularity in social media. Have you ever asked why there is so much sensationalized propaganda on social media? The algorithms sway that way. They want us to hate each other and view them as heroes. If you don't believe that is the case and that your algorithms are more free than that, why don't we receive more videos from other countries? It's not views because they get more views. It's not even language because so many videos don't need the language. It's location filtering, which is innocent, but 100% confirms they have more control over what you see than you do. Yes, it is called the fire hose of falsehood. While it's not necessarily a technology, it is heavily facilitated by social media platforms like X, Facebook, and even now massive cable networks, news stations. What's the actual point of this post? Musk is a tool bag. I don't think anyone disagrees with that. The point is not that Musk is a tool bag, but that he and Trump are the exact thing alt-right conspiracy America has been warning about since the late 90s, early 2000s, yet somehow they got elected, and largely by Alex Jones fans and the like. There's a recession coming, and it's on purpose. The COVID recession saw a huge swing of the concentration of wealth. The recession allowed those with vast means to buy up even more, so when the market rebound came, the top saw incredible gains. I'm struggling to find figures to back that up, but one of them was the 10 richest people doubled their net worth after the pandemic recession. I think it's possible that the elite took that learning and are pushing America into another recession, one they can plan for and use to their advantage. Will use their vast buying power that is basically recession-proof to buy in the valley that they know is coming and complete their world domination on the market rebound. I say recession-proof because if Elon lost 50% of his net worth, he still has like $200 billion to sling around even if everything drops substantially. For the record, I'm planning on doing the same thing, just at like 0.00001% of the scale that these people operate in. Roblox Nazi predators. Roblox may seem like a kid's game on the surface, innocent looking. It can be pretty easy as an adult to write it off as just another innocent game, leaving its more sinister communities overlooked, promoting Nazi ideology, freaky antics, and inappropriate relationships. Brandon, his real name, went under the username Albert Hilarium, using his last name to begin a group called the Hilarium Dynasty, where everyone who wanted to be in the community had to change their last name to Hilarium. Getting attention in the SCP Roblox community, people began to notice and try to find out who Albert Hilarium really was, till finally a Discord message would reveal the disturbing side of the supposed leader. Of course, he denied it like all of them do on To Catch a Pred, but that didn't stop Cora Katz from diving even further into the investigation of his depraved ways, finding that he was messaging her sister, Yuki, a minor, trying to coerce her to please his twisted desires. She posed as another member of the community, gathering info on the suspected 20-year-old man who spent his days in the Roblox community chatting up young teens. Interestingly enough, he was running what was the equivalent to the Diddy parties but in Roblox, setting up secluded areas in the map where everyone would be unclothed and freaky. One girl even recounts her interaction with the community.
So I used to be really obsessed with SCP stuff for some reason, and I was at Group Recruiting Plaza. I was trying to find like SCP groups, and I saw Albert's group, and I joined and stuff. Everything was normal. But then once I got into the Discord server, and they'd say like really suggestive stuff, and they'd be like really weird to me and stuff. And Albert and all his little minions would say that he's like mean, so it's fine for him to joke about that kind of stuff. He'd just say really sexual things, and it made me really uncomfortable, but I was like, okay, whatever.
Peter Thiel was man behind the curtain. Dude got mad at Gawker for saying he was gay and groomed Thiel fellows for his harem, so he funded Hulk Hogan's $10 million six-tape lawsuit against them and took them out of business. Then he got mad at Silicon Valley Bank, so he had his founders fund spread a rumor they were failing and had all their backed startups pull their funds, which caused a run on SVB and caused the SVB to fail. Meanwhile, he was shorting SVB stock, profiting on the downfall he set in motion. Now he's mad at Democrats for trying to tax his $5 billion plus IRA accounts, so he funded Trump's campaign, handpicked J.D. Vance to take over when Trump inevitably steps down on January 22nd, 2027, giving Vance 2 years minus a day, plus 2 more 4-year terms, pulled in Elon to add more fuel and chaos, and was a major funder of the Twitter acquisition directly and through VC funds, and pulling in their PayPal buddy Sachs and his VC funds to join as well, and is giving Trump most of the cabinet picks to dismantle the executive branch of the government, almost like this SVB bank run, but on the United States government. And I guarantee he has many investment positions in play that are designed to take advantage of any chaos and downfall, all while he quietly pulls the strings behind the scenes. Trump's transition team not taking GSA money, office space, or technology because it is privately funded, is and all certainly funded by Thiel through shell companies, Musk directly because he doesn't care, and Sachs because he wants a cabinet position. Given that all three are historically backed by Saudi, Chinese, and Russian state and private fund LPs, there is a whole lot of red flags here. Political leaning aside, we should be a lot more focused on Thiel, German-born, Musk, South African-born, and Sachs, South African-born, pulling the strings of the incoming administration. Plane crash questions. I find it very strange that the news is suddenly talking about plane crashes far more often than before. Is there an increase in plane crashes, or is something else going on? According to the National Transportation Safety Board, there were 62 incidents in January of this year and 25 so far in February. Last year there were 80 incidents in January and 93 in February. If incidents are going down, why is the news making these crashes such a big deal? I understand that the news attracts more viewers with crazy stories, that's just the nature of their business. But why this? Is there a goal to landlock people, stopping them from leaving the country? After the first crash, I immediately thought of the drone sightings. Was that story purposely reported on first for connections to be made? Was it the reason for highlighting these crashes when crashes have decreased from last year and planes have historically become far safer? I'm trying to understand this. It's spanning every news source, both left and right-winged. I've heard more about this than Trump's presidency. I don't avidly watch the news, which is far different from his last time in office. What does this mean? American Legion. This popped in my head recently. A long time ago, I used to do stand-up. I was smoking outside this club with this older guy, and he told me something strange. It always stuck with me. He asked me if I wanted to hear a conspiracy theory that was actually true. This was long ago. My story won't make any sense if I try to say what he said. So basically, he said after World War I, the American Legion marched on Washington because the government never delivered on their promises to the soldiers. And I guess they took over the executive branch, and I don't know. I guess people after that were puppets? I think I'm butchering it. It was so long ago. Hasn't anyone ever heard about this? He told me he wrote a paper about it in college, and then the FBI showed up to his door, then asked him a bunch of questions about it. I remember he would say something and I would laugh sometimes, and he would just stare at me and say he was serious. Totally freaked me out. Is this a real thing? Does anyone have any reading on this, or was this guy just crazy? If this post isn't allowed, I'm sorry, feel free to delete. I'm just curious. Fashion comes from cheapskate, greedy brands. Jeans and fashion has gone to hell. Levi jeans have become so bad, and their jeans have become all ugly and skinny / taper / tight, and that has become the fashion and hasn't moved in more than a decade. My theory is that they push skinny jeans / tapered / slim jeans as fashion, so they can charge the same price as normal straight ones or looser jeans and save the money on materials and weight. If they save just a bit of material on one pair, after a bunch, that's a lot of material saved and weight on shipping and etc. The 1% are dismantling the public health system with intent. With the advances in AI and robotics, there is less need for the human workforce. The population is currently too large for the 1% to control effectively. There is too much unpredictability. By dismantling the public health system, this country will be less prepared for the next epidemic. With an ill-prepared public health care system, the number of fatalities will be exponentially higher. While everyone will be affected, the number of fatalities will be higher in the poor demographics. This will be an effective means to eliminate a workforce that is no longer necessary. Food for thought. The end goal is clear. Strip the government of power, replace human labor with AI, privatize resources, and keep the masses distracted, fighting over cultural nonsense, while the real power players take everything that matters. This ties into removing the federal workforce, which imposes regulations, and why it's so important to these psychopaths to have the government gutted. We are watching the largest wealth and land grab in modern history. The billionaires know what is coming. That is why they are hoarding wealth like never before and building bunkers instead of solutions. AI is going to wipe out jobs. Climate change is turning once livable places into wastelands. Water, farmland, and key minerals are the only things that will matter in the future, and they are locking it all down before the public catches on. They also know you cannot just pull the rug out from under billions of people without a backlash. That is where a war will come in. I believe they are setting the stage for a massive conflict, and not just for profit, but as a controlled population reset. The wars we are seeing now are just the warm-up. When the real event happens, it will be devastating, and when it is over, the survivors will be easier to control. I believe this will also be concurrent with another, far more deadly pandemic, like the Spanish flu. This is not some wild conspiracy, it is a pattern. Strip the government, replace the workforce, hoard resources, stoke division, then let war take care of the rest. When the dust settles, they will own everything that matters, and everyone else will be left scrambling for whatever scraps remain. We're 89 seconds to midnight on the doomsday clock. Spend time with your loved ones. American slavery. Do you ever feel like the American system is just to ensure we work as much as possible? The medical field is in on it. They lose anything that shows that I am disabled. I have been working multiple full-time jobs since 15, and they will do anything and everything to make sure I continue doing that. Doesn't that sound crazy? I thought so too, but there are just too many coincidences at this point. If the docs aren't in on it, they are recklessly incompetent. Mind Control 2.0. Are we becoming digital puppets? Imagine a future where our very thoughts aren't our own. A future where brain-computer interfaces are used not just to help paralyze patients or enhance memory, but to control the masses. Recent developments suggest that this isn't as far-fetched as it sounds. Consider this: a Chinese programmer named Hu Lezi burned over 2,550 ETH, around $6.8 million, in high-stakes blockchain transactions. His on-chain messages weren't random. They warned that Chinese companies are already deploying brain-computer weapons designed to turn people into puppets or complete slaves to the digital machine. This isn't some fringe conspiracy theory, it's a warning sign from someone claiming first-hand knowledge of mind control tech. Then there's the fact that China is aggressively ramping up its brain chip program. According to Cointelegraph, the Chinese government has established a national committee to develop standards for BCIs, technology that has already demonstrated astonishing capabilities, like enabling a monkey to control a robotic arm with nothing but its thoughts. That's not science fiction, it's happening right now. But it doesn't stop there. Wired recently detailed China's controversial approach to BCIs. Unlike in the United States, where companies like Neuralink are focusing primarily on medical applications, China's pushing the envelope by exploring non-invasive BCIs for cognitive enhancement. This means applications for attention modulation, memory regulation, and even military uses. In an era dominated by AI and digital information, some world leaders believe that controlling the end user is the only way to maintain order. They envision a future where signing up for the chip means stepping into a digital existence, where your life is online and monitored, and those who refuse could be pushed to the margins, much like indigenous peoples confined to reservations in the past. And if you're still not convinced, consider Havana Syndrome. A GAO blog post explains how Americans affected by these mysterious symptoms might struggle to get proper care. What if such symptoms are not just random occurrences, but the result of covert experiments with advanced BCI or mind control technologies? This possibility ties all these threads together into a chilling narrative. The World Economic Forum recently reported on the explosive growth of the brain-computer interface markets and the associated risks. They warned that as this technology expands, we might be on the brink of a dystopian future where our minds become battlegrounds for control, and the only choice is either to submit to a fully digital, regulated existence or be left behind. These aren't isolated incidents or outlandish theories. Multiple reports from Cointelegraph, Wired, GAO, and the World Economic Forum are converging on the same disturbing possibility. We could soon be living in a world where our cognitive autonomy is sacrificed at the altar of technological progress. What's the scariest conspiracy theory you've ever heard? This is a regional one, but the idea that Robert Pickton, the pig farm serial killer, didn't act alone. The theory goes that the farm was a common party spot for the Vancouver Police Department and Hells Angels, and that was the reason he got away with it for as long as he did. Recently, he died in jail, and the families of his victims are furious he was not able to testify. There were also a lot of sketchy things to do with evidence. When you start looking, it's pretty convincing. The Dark Forest Theory. We can't find any evidence of extraterrestrial life because the smart ones are hiding, and dumb ones have been killed by something else. That r/AskReddit is mostly a data scraping tool used by marketing companies to farm data from the masses based on what company X is selling, i.e. Disney wants to know what movie to remake next, so let's pay someone to ask about favorite Disney films from their childhood and log the responses. Actually, I just made that up, but I have no doubt it's happening. That oldest doomer, humanity is the real virus/monster, we are destroying our planet like a cancer type of thinking, was made up and spread by corporations to make regular people feel equally culpable for climate change. I'm not killing the planet, and you aren't either. Something like 70% of all global emissions are caused by 100 corporations. They are killing the planet, but no one will go after them because humanity was a mistake, and that cynicism is what will actually do us in. One theory for why there were so many serial killers in the 70s and 80s was due to lead in gasoline. The flip side to this is, though, the reason for the sharp decline in crime in the 90s is due to the removal of lead in gasoline and the decrease in use of lead paint. Here's a new one for you. Spontaneous life is actually extremely common in the universe. We talk about the primordial ooze, where the first proteins formed into a cell and all that, but this theory states that life actually spontaneously arises on a microscopic level constantly. Well, constantly on a universal timescale at least. Not all of it is carbon based, and in fact, life has formed in many different ways that we don't recognize as true life. However, there is one critical thing that acts as a gateway: reproduction. Almost all life that is spontaneously created lives a short time and dies without reproducing. On our world, there have been two instances of spontaneous life that were able to reproduce: the precursor that led to all life as we know it on Earth over millions and millions of years, and number two, viruses. That the public school system sucks because it was deliberately designed to fail kids, forcing them to shovel off to the factories once their dreams are crushed at graduation. The Victorian era conspiracy education plan still works today. The one about Bitcoin being invented by an AI, which is now accumulating a huge amount of computer power by greedy humans building big Bitcoin mining centers to make money, but all they are doing is building an ultra resilient network for the AI to run on. The AI also has a huge amount of wealth to now pay anonymously to humans to do its dirty work in the physical world. A superintelligence at some point wants more computation and robot arms. Given robot arms aren't all that great, money is the next best thing, as humans will do anything for bigger numbers on their bank account. For me, it's truly terrifying. Not really a conspiracy, but from the most existentially terrifying book series I've ever read. The dark force hypothesis as an explanation for the Fermi paradox. Essentially, because of the speed of light, communication between stellar civilizations can break down very easily. Chains of suspicion will arise that go very deep because you have no idea what the other one is doing or saying in real time. Because of the chains of suspicion built by the speed of light, you have no idea whether someone you can see is malicious or benevolent. Even if you're more advanced than someone you have detected, you have no idea if they have experienced a technological explosion like we did in the 20th century after you measured them. If you can see another civilization, then at some point they will be able to see you, and you have no idea when that will happen, even if you're more advanced. Letting someone else know you exist and letting them continue to exist are both dangerous to you, if neither communication nor silence will work. Once you know of the existence of another civilization, you're left with just one option: destroy anyone you see. The universe is a dark forest. Every civilization is an armed hunter stalking through the trees like a ghost, gently pushing aside branches that block the path and trying to tread without sound. Even breathing is done with care. The hunter has to be careful because everywhere in the forest are stealthy hunters like him. If he finds other life, another hunter, an angel or a demon, a delicate infant or a tottering old man, a fairy or a demigod, there's only one thing he can do: open fire and eliminate them. In this forest, hell is other people, an eternal threat that any life that exposes its own existence will be swiftly wiped out. This is the picture of cosmic civilization. It's the explanation for the Fermi paradox. Hide well and cleanse well. The reason we haven't found aliens is because any advanced civilization destroys itself. The same evolutionary traits that allowed humanity to make it to its current point are also the traits that will lead it to its inevitable downfall, in my opinion. It's not particularly scary, but go read a bit of Commander David Fravor's statement about his F-18 crew that were called to check on an object that they had been tracking on the USS Nimitz for weeks in the early 2000s. It was dropping from 80,000 to 20,000 in mere seconds. When they managed to begin tracking it, the radar had trouble picking it up. There was no infrared heat signature for the propulsion of the craft as it hovered over the ocean, and it was pulling G's no pilot could make without a full blackout. It disappeared from view of both planes and popped back onto the radar 60 miles away in less than a minute. His crew also took a different video years later of a similar object. Really makes you wonder. Then later, a whole bunch of fighter pilots came out and said strange cubes and a see-through globe were flying very close to their planes. In general, UFO conspiracy theories are kind of strange. At first you think it's all BS, and most of it really is, but there are also loads of stories out there that are true head-scratchers where groups of credible observers spotted objects that could not possibly be swamp gas, human, or the planet Venus. There are also many stories like this too in South America. Iran, the lead engineer of U-2 spy plane. What's scarier than shadow governments and deep states pulling all the levers? That there aren't. It's nobody. We're all just a bunch of apes with opposable thumbs, and nobody knows what we're doing. That is what it has felt like as I grown in my career. Bigger and more consequential orgs I've worked for, still no one who knows what's going on. The 10-year challenge on Facebook in 2019, which encouraged Facebook users to upload pictures from 2009 and a current one from 2019, was actually a front by programmers to gain data and examples to train facial recognition and age progression software. Yet, though one I'll believe right away, companies such as Facebook make their money from data. Pictures that further AI recognition equals money. But I copy-pasted that. I don't consent to Facebook using any of my pictures. All of the genealogy websites are a government-ran program, and the real purpose is to have a database for solving crimes. They knew that there would be no way to have people willingly give over their DNA for that purpose, so they genealogy as the motivation for people to give up the goods. We also pay for it, so it's a double win for the government. Charles Manson was introduced to LSD in federal prison in Chicago as part of MKUltra. When he moved to San Francisco, he kept in touch with the same parole officer and checked in regularly at the free clinic at Hyatt and Ashbury, where he brought the girls to get treated for STDs and re-up his acid supply. That clinic was the perfect storm of several different individuals and programs. CIA as an organization involved with the free clinic as a way of keeping tabs on the counterculture movement. The actual CIA field agents who loved the benefit of hippie culture like free love and free girls, and the medical/psychiatric true believers who really thought LSD was going to change the world. They thought Manson was a perfect example of a violent criminal who had been successfully converted to peace and love through modern medicine. Manson, for his part, was just a con man who realized he could fast talk these college squares and keep himself in the good graces of the law and free LSD. He could attract girls with a combination of bad boy charm, free drugs, prison-taught pimping, and the co-opting of new age language and goodwill. When the drugs dried up, he started trading girls for drugs to the bikers, got more into amphetamines than LSD, and it all started going to shit. Great book about it, Chaos by Tom O'Neill. Prince/King Charles is a prolific prank caller and goes by the pseudonym Frank Garrett. When making these crude calls, he calls people around the world and cusses them out using a southern drawl. There's tons of these calls people have recorded and posted on YouTube. If you ever receive a call from a Frank Garrett who makes no sense and repeatedly cusses you out, there is a good chance it is in fact Prince/King Charles. This intrigues me. What is the connection to King Charles though? I mean, why is Frank Garrett suspected to be King Charles and not someone else? Also, what's the connection to the actual Frank Garrett? Death row? ? I don't have the exact source, but apparently the calls were traced to a town called Stillwell, OK, where he owned some kind of pole barn business called Duncan Construction with a partner. There were pics of him making these calls that leaked and were quickly deleted, and a forum site discussing and confirming he was the owner of Duncan Construction, and their local number being routed to his UK number was quickly taken down. I don't think it is connected to the actual Frank Garrett. However, if you look at this video on the Frank Garrett Center, you will see the comments don't really make sense, as they are all quotes from Prince/King Charles's prank calls to people. I guess those people commenting are fans of his pranks. Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, is actually the son of Fidel Castro. First, Justin looks like a young Fidel, obviously, and nothing like Pierre Trudeau. And Pierre and Margaret Trudeau were rumored to be swingers. They were in Cuba in early 1971, around February or March, and Justin was born Christmas of that year, about 9 months later. Are you suggesting there was some infidelity? The true conspiracy against Stevia. The sugar lobbyists managed to get Stevia outlawed decades ago in the United States with false and negative press. Those laws were eventually trashed and the claims were proven to be BS. It's now legal. The Stevia plant is up to 100 times sweeter than sugar, 0 calories, doesn't rot teeth, all natural, and lowers blood pressure. It could replace sugar in all soft drinks and make people healthier. But the sugar companies still have a huge hold on the market, and they pay off politicians.